Imagine waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of someone inside your house. Not a family member, not a roommate, someone who shouldn't be there. The door creaks, a floorboard cracks, and suddenly you realize you're not alone. Home invasions are among the most terrifying crimes because they violate the one place we believe we're safest, our homes. But the stories in this video aren't just about fear. They're about survival, about ordinary people who found themselves face to face with intruders and somehow lived to tell the story. Before we begin, if you enjoy true crime survival stories like these, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the stories on this channel only get stranger, darker, and more unbelievable. Now, let's begin. Number 4. The Night Visitor. In October of 2016, a woman named Melissa Carter was home alone in a quiet neighborhood outside Portland, Oregon. It was a rainy Tuesday night, the kind of night where the streets are silent and the only sound outside is rain tapping against the windows. Melissa had finished watching TV around 11:30 p.m. and was getting ready for bed. Before going upstairs, she did what she always did. She locked the doors, checked the windows, turned off the lights. Everything seemed normal. But around 2:14 a.m., Melissa woke up suddenly. At first, she couldn't figure out why. Then she heard it, a faint sound coming from downstairs. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Melissa froze. Her bedroom door was slightly open, and from the hallway, she could see the faint glow of a light downstairs. Someone had turned on the kitchen light. Her heart began pounding. She reached for her phone and quietly dialed 911. Whispering, she told the operator she believed someone was inside her home. Then suddenly, the footsteps stopped, and she heard something even worse. The sound of someone climbing the stairs. Step, step, step. The intruder was coming toward her room. Melissa quickly slid off the bed and crawled into her closet, pulling the door shut. The footsteps reached the hallway. Then the bedroom door slowly creaked open. From inside the closet, Melissa could see the shadow of a man moving across her room. He was searching, opening drawers, looking under the bed. Then suddenly the closet door began to move. Melissa held her breath. But before it opened, police sirens erupted outside. The intruder ran. Within seconds, officers burst through the front door. The man attempted to escape through the backyard, but was quickly arrested. Later, investigators discovered something disturbing. The intruder had been watching Melissa's house for weeks, waiting for the right moment. And if she hadn't called 911 when she did, the outcome could have been much worse. Number 3. The Masked Man. In 2018, a man named Carlos Rivera was living in Phoenix, Arizona with his younger sister. Carlos worked late shifts as a mechanic, and most nights he arrived home around midnight. One night, after finishing work, he returned home like usual, but something immediately felt wrong. The front door was slightly open. Carlos was certain he had locked it earlier. At first, he assumed his sister had forgotten, but when he stepped inside the house, it was completely dark and silent. Too silent. Carlos called out her name. No answer. He slowly walked toward the hallway when suddenly, a man wearing a black mask stepped out from the kitchen. He was holding a crowbar. For a moment, both men froze. Then the intruder charged. Carlos barely managed to dodge the first swing of the crowbar. The weapon slammed into the wall just inches from his head. Carlos ran toward the living room while the masked man chased him. Furniture crashed. Glass shattered. The house turned into chaos. But Carlos noticed something important. The intruder seemed disoriented in the dark. Carlos knew the layout of the house. The attacker didn't. So Carlos ran toward the garage door and quickly pressed the automatic opener. The loud grinding sound of the garage door startled the intruder, and a sudden flood of outside light illuminated the entire room. Carlos grabbed a metal tool from a nearby workbench and stood his ground. The masked man hesitated. Then he turned and ran out through the open garage. Police later discovered the intruder had broken into several homes in the neighborhood that month. But Carlo's quick thinking likely prevented something far worse from happening. Number 2, the locked bathroom. In 2020, a college student named Emily Sanders was studying late in her apartment in Austin, Texas. It was nearly 1 a.m. when she finally closed her laptop and went to the kitchen for a drink. As she walked past the front door, she noticed something strange. The door was unlocked. Emily was certain she had locked it earlier, but before she could think much about it, she heard a noise behind her, someone moving inside the apartment. Emily slowly turned around. Standing in the hallway was a man she had never seen before. He was tall, wearing dark clothing, and staring directly at her. Emily ran. She sprinted down the hallway and locked herself inside the bathroom. The man immediately began pounding on the door. The entire apartment echoed with the violent blows. Emily called 911 while desperately holding the door handle closed. The attacker began trying to break the lock. Each impact shook the door harder. Emily thought the door would collapse at any moment. But the bathroom door had something unexpected. A solid steel frame installed by the building's security upgrade. The door held. After nearly 3 minutes of pounding, the attacker heard police sirens approaching. He ran out of the apartment moments before officers arrived. Police later revealed that the man had entered through an unlocked window and had been hiding inside the apartment for hours. Waiting. Emily survived because she ran to the only reinforced door in the apartment. Number 1, the basement escape. Our final story might be the most terrifying. In 2014, a family living in rural Pennsylvania experienced a home invasion that turned into a nightmare. Late one evening, a father named David Harper was downstairs watching TV while his wife and daughter were asleep upstairs. Around 10:45 p.m., David heard a loud crash coming from the back door. 2 men had forced their way into the house. Both were armed. David immediately ran toward the staircase and shouted for his family to hide. The intruders chased him. David knew he couldn't outrun them upstairs, so he did something unexpected. He ran down into the basement. The men followed, but David had a plan. The basement had an old storage room with a heavy metal door used decades earlier as a storm shelter. David ran inside and slammed the door shut. The intruders tried to break it down. They kicked it repeatedly, but the door wouldn't budge. Meanwhile, David used his phone to call the police and whispered the situation to the operator. Upstairs, his wife had already grabbed their daughter and locked themselves inside a bedroom. For nearly 15 minutes, the intruders searched the house. Eventually, they realized police were on the way. They fled before officers arrived. The suspects were later arrested after attempting another home invasion nearby. Investigators said the reinforced basement shelter likely saved the family's lives. Home invasions are terrifying because they happen in the place we trust the most, our homes. But these stories show that even in the most dangerous situations, survival is possible. Sometimes it's quick thinking, sometimes it's luck, and sometimes it's simply refusing to panic when everything feels out of control. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more true crime survival stories, make sure you subscribe, because the next story might be even more unbelievable than the ones you just heard.